Intersections are the places in life where life makes up its mind, where we go from like one direction or one trajectory to another. We talked the very first week, a couple of weeks ago, about some pivotal intersections, some pivotal choices or steps in our life that are small actions in principle, right? But they make a big change in direction, some really small decisions that make a big change in your life. Last week we talked about the traffic lights that are in intersections and how they give us wisdom on how we can move through an intersection or maybe how to stay out of it altogether to keep us safe. And we talked about how critical kind of some of those intersections are. This week I want to talk to you about an intersection that we're facing together as a church. But to do that, I need to remind you of why we exist. Now, if you've been with us in person, you've been through the lobby, you've seen it in giant letters on a giant wall. But Journey Church exists to help people take their next step toward Jesus. Because it's the one thing we all have in common, right? That's what we talk about when we talk about next steps, is that you and I, maybe if you're sitting in a chair in this room or you're joining us online, maybe we have some things in common, a few, but somebody else we don't have those things in common with, right? We were all from different places, we're different ages, we've got different experiences, we've got different pain in our life, we've got different joys in our life. We all have different parts of our story that we're playing out. But the one thing that we all have in common, every one of us together, is that we all have a next step that we've got in front of us. And here at Journey, we've said since the beginning that the most important step you'll ever take is your next step. The next thing you do in your journey toward Jesus is the most important thing, and we exist to help people take those next steps toward Jesus. We've been at this for now a little over 12 years. In fact, today, as of this morning, 4,507 days have gone by since we started as a church. And every day since those things, all 4,507 days of our existence, this has been an opportunity. Now, I know what you're saying. You're probably going, Jeremy, that's just a chair. How's a chair an opportunity? Well, I mean, when this chair is full right here in this big room, or maybe the chair that you're sitting in your house, when this chair is full, it represents a life that is taking their next step toward Jesus. Maybe for some of you, just being here is a step that you're taking toward Jesus. But when we sit here and we listen and we fill up this chair, it makes a difference in our life, and we choose to identify and then take a next step as a result of being here. And these chairs mean a lot to me. I mean, in all honesty, we use these chairs, these exact same chairs, when we were portable. We sat them up and tore them down every single week, all 300 and something of them, right? We'd stand them up and roll them out and put them away, along with all the other equipment and the stuff. These chairs were an opportunity to care for people, and we were able to fill them with people. And then these are the same chairs that our students have used on Wednesday nights as they gather together and they work through kind of what their next steps are. As we challenge hundreds of students to take their next step toward Jesus, they've sat in these chairs. My girls have sat in these chairs. They sat in these chairs when they were a part of Journey Church, kids, and then when they're growing up, and now they sit in these chairs and lead small groups of children. Our Journey Kids teams have made an amazing impact on kids using these chairs. When they gather to get together for Kid Fest in the summer and have like this 2-day blitz of fun with kids, and hundreds of kids gather in these chairs to hear and hear about following Jesus. These same chairs were just used yesterday when in our Winterfest, when hundreds of kids and their families came into this building and sat in these chairs in different places around this building. And these chairs have helped children and students and adults take their next step toward Jesus. It's these chairs that our groups sit in around tables, talk about these significant relationships with other people that help me take significant relationship steps in my relationship with Jesus. It's all been in these chairs. Kids, students, adults, groups, all taking their next step toward Jesus. When these chairs are full, they make a difference in people's lives. But I want to point out something. This is more than just a chair. When this chair is full, it's a person taking their next step toward Jesus. When this chair is empty, it's an opportunity for us to fulfill the mission that God has called us to accomplish. Empty chairs are an opportunity for us to fulfill all the mission that God has for us, that He's called for us to accomplish. Let me just say that again. Empty chairs, not full ones, are an opportunity for us to reach people. When they're full, it's someone moving forward. When they're empty, it's an opportunity. And here's the problem. A year ago, if you were here at our weekend gathering in this room, a year ago there were about 100 of these opportunities available for people, scattered throughout the room. If you've been in person in the last 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, you'll notice that these opportunities are getting hard to find, aren't they? I mean, just 2 weeks ago, I was in the back with a family who came in during the first service. And they were coming in during the first song, and I was trying to help them find a seat, and we wound up having to split a family of 4 people into 2 different places in the room, just so that they could stay with us here in this room. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like that's us making the very best of empty seat opportunities, is it? Because the truth is that there is only so much space that we can put in here, right? And we can't really expand right now. We're investigating, we're looking at the opportunities and the things that are going to be a long-term solution. Like this week, we're meeting with designers to talk about what the next phase of the building looks like. But even if everything worked out perfectly, we wouldn't be able to be in that building, in that space, with more empty seat opportunities for at least another 1.5 to 2 years before the end of 2025. I don't know about you, but I can't wait until then to make more opportunities for people to take their next step toward Jesus. It matters to us. So while that is a long-term solution, it's not a short-term reality. So what we have to do between now and then is do something significant, something drastic. We have to choose to be uncomfortable, to offer empty seat opportunities to help people take their next step toward Jesus. So I'm excited to announce, I can't wait to get started on this. But as of Easter of this year, we're going to start 3 services here at Journey, and we're going to keep going. So we're going to be adding a service. Now, the natural question that you're going to ask right now, and the same question that everyone else I've talked to, as I've talked to leaders and our serving teams, I've talked to other people around church, is when are we going to have that service? Is it going to be on another day? Is it going to be on another night? Is it going to be on Sunday morning? And after really working at it together as teams, talking about it a ton, we really believe that the best chance that we have of creating more open seat opportunities is to use the rest of Sunday morning, to do as much as we can in as little amount of time and focus our attention. And that really is the question. But when in Sunday morning, right? So if we decided we weren't going to right now do it on another night or another day, when on Sunday morning do we do it? And that's why we need your help. We need your help right now. In fact, I would love it if you're joining us in person. I'd like you to go to ourjourney.news. Take your phone out, go to ourjourney.news, and click on that Sunday survey right there on the top. But if you're joining us on Facebook or on YouTube, if you're joining us online, I'd love for you to, if you've got somebody with you, you can click on that in the comments. You can keep watching this because we're going to walk through this together. But if you're joining us online, we'd love for you to follow that link either now or later after the service. And I'm going to walk you through the questions we're going to ask because we need to hear from you. Because it's your friends and your family, right? It's the people that are in your life that don't know or haven't found or followed Jesus yet. It's those people that we want to fill those empty seat opportunities, right? So who's better to ask than you about when we should do that? So when you get there, you'll see there are a few questions. The first one is really simple. Now listen, this is about when you're thinking about your friends and your family, right? Your friends and family who aren't already going to church. They're people that you know and you care about, that you want to invite to be a part of things. Let me ask you this question. When you think about your friends and family, which service do you think would work best for them? Which set of services? This one, first one is on, the option on there is 8 o'clock, 9:30, and 11 on Sunday mornings. The second block of time slots is like 8:15, 9:45, and 11:15. And the third block of services is 8:30, 10, and 11:30. Now, each of them have some real pluses, each of them have some minuses. They're a little bit difficult, but when you think about your friends and family, and you're thinking about like, hey, how would I invite that person at work who has little kids? Or how would I invite that person at this stage in their life? When you're thinking about your friends and family who don't already go to church, which of these blocks would work best for them from where you sit? Just pick one of them and click next. The next question is, when you're thinking about that block of services, which one are you most likely to attend and ask a friend to join you? So if you're going, okay, listen, if I'm going to go to one of those services, if I picked, one of those 3 sets of services, which one am I most likely to show up to? Which one am I most likely to ask a friend to come with me? Are you going to go to maybe the earliest of those options? You're going to go to the second or the middle of those options? Or are you going to go to the later or the third of those options? Just pick that for us. It'll help us get an understanding of the kinds of services that best suit the people that we're trying to reach. And we really want to know that because you are the ones who are going to take advantage of these empty seat opportunities. So that's the questions about time, right? But there's another dynamic. I mean, there's a lot of cost, a lot of effort that goes into launching a third service, right? It's a scary investment for us. But let me just remind you of one thing that you can help with in this, is that in our investments, in our care to reach people, to offer empty seat opportunities, it's more than just creating another service and going on about our lives with some empty seats around, right? It's about us creating a great experience. Can I just put a real fine point on it? When we go to 3 services starting on Easter and continuing after, by that point, which is only 8 or 9 weeks away, we're going to need about 100 new volunteers. Let me say that again. We're going to need about 100 brand new volunteers as a part of our serving teams. I mean, serving teams are a commitment of time where we maybe serve 1 or 2 Sundays a month for a little bit of time. You get onto a team and maybe you greet people at the front door. Or maybe you help make coffee and put kind of stuff out for hospitality. Or maybe you help prep communion. Or you're an usher. Or maybe you serve in the back line in the technology stuff once a month. Or maybe on the worship team. Or maybe you work with our 412 students or with Journey Kids. We don't need you to be all the way. You don't need to have figured it all out or have all the answers. All you need to do is be willing to serve. And so that's the next question. Are you willing to help create empty seat opportunities by considering joining a team? Now, it's really just a yes or no question, right? And we're not signing you up for a team. You're not making a commitment. Are you willing to think about it? Are you willing to get some information? And if you are, just click yes and click next. And would you just share your name with us? We need 100 people. That's a lot of people. That's about 15% of the people who go to Journey today. It's about a third of the adults that go to Journey in a day, right? We need you. So if you're starting to think, oh, well, he means somebody else. I don't mean somebody else. I mean you. I mean you. And we need you to help us create empty seat opportunities. But man, it's scary, isn't it? I mean, intersections are where life makes up its mind. Intersections like this are where we decide where we're going to head, what we're going to do with our life. Now, every single one of us are at a place right now in that question, aren't you? I mean, you may be in that kind of intersection in your life when it comes to whether or not it's time to go all in on your faith and join a serving team, or whether or not you're going to really risk a relationship and invest in somebody's life and invite them to be a part of what God's doing, filling an empty seat opportunity. But there's also some other stuff that goes on in our minds where life is making up its mind. Places in our lives where we are looking at an intersection. It's kind of like when you drive up to an intersection, you're driving down the road, and you see that on the other side of that stoplight or the other side of that intersection, that there's an accident. Or you see, on the other side of that intersection, there's a lot of traffic, or there's something distracting going on over there. And there's a part of you that knows that maybe it's time for me to take a different path to the destination I'm trying to arrive at. Maybe the way I was going wasn't going to work. And that's kind of honestly how what we're at as a church. Like, it's really hard for us. To be honest with you, I mean, we've got 6 full-time staff people at Journey. And we're already working a ton, right? We already work a lot of hours together to put all the stuff that we do together to make sure all those things go. We've got amazing serving teams and leaders. And to, basically do 50% more work to start a new service, it's a lot of extra work. We're looking at that intersection knowing that not having empty seats opportunities is not an option. And making the very best out of every dollar and everything that we do is part of who we are, right? That we want to work hard to do what is right and what is best. And as we're looking on the other side of the intersection, we just realize it's too crowded. It's too crowded, and we need to do something different to be able to do what God has appointed for us to do. Let me just challenge you in that. Maybe you're sitting on one side of the intersection, you're looking at your marriage on the other side of it, and you're going, man, if we don't do something different, this is not going to end well. Or maybe you're thinking about your job, and you're going, man, I just don't see how there's any real hope in going this direction, that maybe I need to make a career change. Maybe I need to make a different change. How do you know? What is it that keeps us just going on ridiculously and paying no attention to it, right? What keeps us going on in our marriage, going on in our relationships? What keeps us spending more money than we make? What keeps us from doing something different? Sometimes that's exactly the problem. There's this old Dakota tribal wisdom. It says, when the horse is dead, the best strategy is to dismount. Wouldn't that be amazing if we really realized that? When we're not doing the right thing, the best thing is just to stop doing that thing. Like, it's difficult though, isn't it? Like, when I'm looking at the forward and I'm going, man, we're already doing so much on Sunday morning. It's already so much effort and so much work that goes into it. I'm already so thankful for all the hours that our musicians and our greeters and our children's ministry and family ministry people put in. Can we really do more? But then I really ask this question, can we really not do more? I mean, really, that question really kind of burns on me. Which one of my friends, which one of my family isn't important enough for us to offer an empty seat to? Which one of your family, right? Which one of your friends? Which one of the God's children that you know isn't important enough for us to do a little bit extra to make an empty seat opportunity? And that's really the hard thing, isn't it? What keeps us from going forward? What makes us stuck? Sometimes just our overwhelming fear, isn't it? There's this guy in the New Testament, and he wrote most of the New Testament, so we talk a lot about Paul. But Paul was heading in one direction in his life. He knew what every single day held for him. Like, he'd wake up every morning and he knew before this moment when he came face to face with Jesus, back when his name was Saul, he knew exactly what every day would hold for him, because every day held the same thing. He existed to make sure that followers of Jesus knew that they had an enemy. He existed to make sure that he could do everything he could to stop the message of Jesus from spreading until the day when he came face to face with Jesus. Right? He pulled up to the intersection, and he saw that this was not what was supposed to happen. That the God he thought he was honoring, he was not honoring. And he came face to face with Jesus. And from that moment on, he decided he needed to take his life in an entirely different direction. And there were times when he felt called to do something, and fear was deep within him. Same kind of way that we all feel when we face an intersection. I want to just keep my head down. I just want to ignore all the things. I just want to bury my head in the sand and keep the blinders on and not change directions, because I'm afraid if I look at those things, it's going to make it more real to me. Look at how Paul dealt with it. He says, and now I am bound by the Spirit to go to Jerusalem. He knew what God wanted him to do. He said, I don't know what awaits me, except that the Holy Spirit tells me in city after city that jail and suffering lie ahead. Now listen, I'm sometimes crippled by the idea of fear. And fear of the unknown is what really sticks with me, right? But Paul had the fear of the known. He didn't just have the fear of the unknown. Sometimes I don't want to look at the options around me. I don't want to look at things for what they really are, because I'm afraid of the unknown. Part of the reason I get stuck, sometimes I don't want to change direction, I want to do something different, is because I don't know what the unknown is. But look at what Paul said. He knew exactly what the unknown was. The other reason I don't want to is that sometimes I'm afraid of losing comfort. I mean, can I be honest with you? One of the apprehensions I have about starting a third service is my own comfort. I got to speak for another half an hour every single Sunday, right? That means more people around here, means more responsibility for me, means harder work for all of our staff, all of our volunteers. It means harder effort for our leaders. It means more sacrifice, doesn't it? And more sacrifice is a big deal. And sometimes I get stuck in the way I want to go because I'm afraid of losing comfort. But look at what Paul says at the end of that. He says that he knows that the Holy Spirit tells him that in city after city that jail and suffering lie ahead. But my life is worth nothing to me unless I use it for finishing the work assigned me by the Lord Jesus. Wouldn't that be a great position to hold? I mean, when we're stuck with fear and we're like, listen, I don't know if I can go forward. I don't know if I can sacrifice. I don't know if I can push it all to the middle again, right? I'm tired of doing those things. I don't know if I can make one more sacrifice. What if we got to a place in our life where we said, listen, fear is not my story, right? My life is worth nothing unless I use it for finishing the task, the work assigned to me. That is crazy, isn't it? I want to live like that. I want to live like that when it comes to making open seat opportunities. I want to live like the kind of person who will say, listen, I will do anything to create an opportunity for someone to find and follow Jesus. Now, I know what you're saying. I know sometimes we get to those places in our story where we're like, man, isn't there enough people around here? I don't know. I mean, yeah, in a way. But isn't there enough people in heaven? No. Isn't there somebody that you and I know that isn't finding and following Jesus? I don't know about you, but my life is worth nothing unless I use it to finish, not to build a museum about what God's already done. Listen, I mean, we started a church. This is an amazing thing. We've got a lot to celebrate. For 5 years, we were portable, and we stood up everything, and we tore it all down. We put up the lights and the sound and the video, and we cared about kids, and we loved people. We went to 2 services while we were portable. We moved into this building. We built this with our own hands. We sacrificed so that it was a reality, a possibility in our life. There's a part of me that goes, man, I want to build a museum, take photos, run them through, go, hey, look, remember the days? Remember the glory days when we did this good thing and that good thing? But Paul said, my life is worth nothing unless I use it to finish the work that God has assigned me to do. I don't know about you, but sometimes I need to be reminded of 1 Timothy. God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. If you and I put away our fear and our timidity, our being fear and timid, our like enamoredness with comfort, and we put on this power and love, and yes, a little bit of self-discipline, so that we can carve out some extra time to be one of those 100 volunteers, or so that we can be real and honest about where our finances are so that we can sacrifice, because God wants to offer open seat opportunities to people in our community, and it takes us and our sacrifice, our willingness, our power and our love and our self-discipline to make that real. Now listen, it's the same truth whether we're dealing with, do we add a third service, or how do we do that, or all this extra work or sacrifice. It's the same thing when it is with your marriage, your relationships, your money, your stuff that you're looking at, the intersections that you're at. Sometimes it's our fear of losing comfort or a fear of the unknown that holds us back. But sometimes it's just the reluctance that we have to face facts, isn't it? I mean, sometimes, especially when we're talking about relationships, you're going, hey, listen, we don't communicate. And sometimes focusing, being real about that honesty, about that real fact is the truth. Sometimes when we have been watching our finances over a period of time, sometimes the reason we get stuck in behaving the way we behave is because we don't really want to face the facts that we're just, bottom line, spending more than we're taking in. And you can't keep spending and more than you take in and expect it to end well. Sometimes the reason we get stuck is because we're reluctant to face facts. It takes courage, right? It takes courage, being strong and courageous to face the facts. Joshua was a military leader that God gave this command to. He said, "This is my command, Joshua. Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." You know what that means for Joshua? Is that his reluctance to face the facts of his adversaries, the reluctance that he had to look up the hill and realize that what he had to do was still work to be done. He said that is nothing compared to his strength and his courage and not being discouraged because God is with you wherever he goes. Sometimes we're reluctant to face the facts, and sometimes we're just reluctant to work hard. I know that's probably where some of us are right now. It's where I was just a few weeks ago before we finally made the decision. Can I be honest with you? We were in exactly this same position in the beginning of 2020. We all remember the dumpster fire that was 2020, right? Like, we remember that. Yeah, we were in this exact position, making this exact same decision because we were in exactly this same place, not enough empty seat opportunities. And it was hard. We were right in the throes of making the decision when we had to stop having church for a while. And I remember then, I remember just a few weeks ago thinking, I'm a little reluctant. I'm going to get stuck because I'm a little reluctant to work hard. I'm a little reluctant to make the sacrifice. I mean, no matter what we do with what time the service happens, it just means more speaking. It means more work. It means more effort. It means more sacrifice for you. There are some of you who are going, man, I'd love to be one of those 100 volunteers, but I don't know if I have the time. Can I ask you this question? What if once a week you gave up one of the TV shows, right? If you just said, I'll give up watching that TV show and I'll make time to work hard. Maybe that's all there is. And maybe that's how you're feeling in your marriage. You're just going, I would address the issue in our relationship, but it just means that we're going to have to work really hard. And I'd rather just ignore it and run into the wall. How's that make sense, right? I mean, in a way, isn't that just like us realizing there's not enough open seat opportunities? And us just saying, you know what, let's just stay with 2 services. Eventually, 50 or 60 of these people will fall through the cracks, and they'll stop coming regularly, and we'll have some more open seat opportunities. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous when we think about the things that are really in front of us, not being able to face the real hard facts. Isn't it really all about the fact that we believe that God chose us? Because that's really where you're at. Where your story is, whether it's your marriage, your relationships, your finances, your whatever business or education choice or intersection that you're at, or whether or not you're just deciding how in you're going to be to providing open seat opportunities. It really comes down to this, that God is in the intersection and that he's offering you an opportunity. He's called you. In fact, look at what he says in John chapter 15. He says, you didn't choose me. I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit. God, look at that. I just want to put that in our real world. God appointed you and me to provide or produce long-lasting fruit so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. God appointed you, right? He gave you this good work for you to do, to provide empty seat opportunities for people. So whatever we do, right? Remembering that we are God's masterpiece. He created you and created me as new in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things that he's planned for us long ago. Reminds me of this, right? Is that it's, February of 2023. And at Easter of 2023, we're going to go into more services, 3 services that'll follow Easter until we get into a new building. It's a means to an end. It seems like a lot of work to me, right? There's a part of me that doesn't want to give up my comfort. There's a part of you that doesn't want to move into the unknown. There's a part of us that's reluctant to face facts or reluctant to do the hard work. But at the end of the day, I just have to believe that God has appointed these good things that he planned for us long ago, long before I was ever known to this world, God knew that we would be at exactly this intersection. And he has really appointed this. He's given us these good things that he planned for you and for me a long time ago. You know, the last thing that keeps me stuck sometimes is my unwillingness to see hope. Maybe that's how you feel in your marriage right now. Maybe you're like, I don't know. You know, I would do the hard work. I would face the facts. I'd do all that stuff. But is there really any hope anymore? Is it really worth it? Is it really valuable? I mean, just using the illustration of this intersection that we face as a church, there's a part of me that goes, man, you know, maybe the church isn't so effective. If you look at church attendance across the country, across the country today, like the church attendance is down. Maybe the end of organized religion is over. But this isn't about organized religion. This is about providing hope for people. This isn't about filling up chairs in a freaking room. Who cares, right? This is about when this chair is empty, it's an opportunity. When this chair is full, it's a person like you and like me who's taking their next step toward Jesus. That is worth giving my life to, right? And I don't know about you, but I feel overwhelmed by the task. Just like you feel overwhelmed at times during your marriage, your finances, your business stuff, your education, your job things, whatever intersection you're facing at. I just want to remind you of what Paul said to the church at Philippi. I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. It's really what we need, isn't it? When we're weak and we're facing an intersection, we don't know what's next, and we're afraid of the unknown, we don't want to face the facts, and we don't want to do the hard work, and we don't feel like there's hope in the future. Don't we just need this? Don't we need strength? It's the same thing he offered to Paul when he knew what the future held. It's the same thing he offered to Joshua, strength and courage, right? It's the same thing Paul said, that we need to get rid of our timidity and our fear, right? And instead be strong, right? And know that God gives us strength. So let me just remind you of this in your intersection, that no matter what intersection you're facing, you don't seem like you have enough strength to get through. If you will know that you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. When we do those things in following of Jesus, he makes a difference in the world that we live in, and he gives us an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others.